on, it's time to forge the narrative.
Hey everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. We are the Battle of Lost Souls podcast. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. This is episode 205. I'm joined today by Chris Morgan and Ricky Addington.
Nurgles rot.
Are we talking about Blight War?
And Andrew Whitaker.
What's up, homies?
Give me that snail from Blight War.
Oh my gosh, you can have it.
I want it. I want it so bad. This segment is brought to you by the Table of Ultimate Gaming. They are currently sitting right now at almost $600,000 in their Kickstarter. They have reached another stretch goal. You've got the darker wood grain tone now. You've got additional matte colors that go inside, and they've done some additional. They've given some additional information that we mentioned this on the last show. But that 4x6 is the interior measurement, so you're going to get the full table experience. And they've even gone so far as to test the Realms of Battle tiles in there, and everything fits like it should right in that recess on the table. So, I mean, why would you not want one of these things?
I just gotta sell the wife on it now.
Well, that is literally like the biggest obstacle in the decision as whether or not to buy one of these things. There's no doubt it is the ultimate gaming table. There's no question that this is the apex of table design. The wife is the ultimate obstacle. That's it. She's the last obstacle.
Show the pics. Have it just be casually up. Hey, honey, check this out on my laptop. You know, you're looking at something else, but then you switch up the screen and it's got this. Because the tables are very sleekly designed. Anyway, check them out. You can find them on Kickstarter. Searching under the Table of Ultimate Gaming. Has 21 days to go. I mean, this has been cool to follow. I mean, check out KickTrack. They are in the top 10 every single day of earnings on Kickstarters because their stuff is awesome.
You think you could just keep the top on it and just sell your wife on it that way and just be like, hey, it's a nice table. Let's get a new dining room table. And as soon as she says yes, you just pull the trigger on that thing.
It's like a magic trick.
Tell her, sorry, no refunds. Yeah. Look at this.
It is amazing. And,
sorry, I lost the receipt.
Yeah.
The Cthulhu decoration pack is calling my name, especially with that sweet green mats and coloring they've got on there. Can't wait. But this episode is about Death Guard. Death Guard, the Codex. Have it in hand right now. I'm the Chaos fan on the show. Everyone kind of indulge me as I gush over this stuff. I'm going to give you one bit of trivia right now to go forward with. Mortarion takes about an hour and a half to build.
Surprisingly, I mean, that's not bad considering. I mean, that's pretty quick.
No, the pieces, it looks like he's got a lot going on, and he does. But when you get that piece fit where it's supposed to go, and it doesn't take long. Again, this is me, doing my normal thing, dropping every third bit, having to pick it up, searching, looking, having to look. It's 2 sprues. It's only 2 sprues. All that detail and all that figure is just on 2 large sprues, like we've seen the kits coming out. And it's awesome. But what I'm talking about, once you get that bit cut and then placed where it's supposed to go, it almost hugs in there. It's a really solid model. And it's modular. There are a couple of different ways to build it. You could build his arms in a few different configurations, and he has a different kind of head setup for each of those configurations. So I've built him with his pistol out in front of him, like he's firing it and maybe trying to sight up somebody on it. But it comes with a second pistol for the other hand. So, I feel myself trying to mount this thing on a Demon Prince or something in the future.
Oh, it's nice to have those extra super cool bits to just throw around somewhere.
Yeah, and this thing does not disappoint. Mortarion there are a few different options again that you can build with it. All the wispy smoke that's on the model is optional. You don't actually have to. That's not something you can leave it off the model, and the model doesn't look like he's missing it. So if that's not your aesthetic, well, yeah, but I mean, it might not be for everyone. There's a bunch of Nurglings on there. Those are unique things that maybe you spread that out to a Nurgling base. They're on the model, but there are options in how you build it. You could build them a little bit less busy if you wanted to, or you can just bling him out in all his chaos glory.
I like that a lot because I think that's one thing that really helps that Magnus model go farther as well. It's with Imperial Knights. Remember when Imperial Knights first came out? It was like your only 2 options were that thermal cannon or the battle cannon, and so everybody's knights just kind of looked exactly the same. And so I was really glad that when the Magnus kit came out that he had those options. So not everybody's
or a pro wrestler.
Yeah. Exactly.
I prefer the pro
but not everybody's looked exactly
I'm
the same.
pretty sure glory doesn't smell like that. Just saying.
But I'm glad Mortarion's going that route too.
It doesn't take much to really spice up a model. I mean, you look at Rowboat, for example, just little things like helmet on or helmet off. It gives a modeler and a painter tremendous options.
And this, again, doesn't disappoint. I thought I was going to be spending a lot more time on that model, but nope. I sat down, I put some music on my CD player. I still have one of those next to the hobby tables. I appropriately listened to Guar. My normal go-to is something different, but I brought out my old Scumdogs of the Universe and built Mortarion. And it was you talk about a heartwarming and fulfilling experience. I think the 15-year-old me and the age I am now me finally met and came together as one and built this model.
I'm pretty sure that's heartburn, not heartwarm.
He's talking about like a spiritual experience, like people describe the birth of their child. He's talking about putting together Mortarion.
Am I wrong? Look.
And the labor was only an hour and a half, guys. It was brutal, but we got through it.
We're going to be having this exact same conversation if you ever see The Lion.
Okay, that's fair. Yes, 100%. And I will make you all sit through it and listen as I go into intricate detail of every bit of that.
How is he going to fight without his sword?
Yeah, fair enough. So
Don't worry about that.
painting
He'll get it back.
Mortarion probably takes significantly longer than an hour and a half, but there's a lot. It's just a cool model. But looking at it, seeing it on the picture, and then seeing it in your hand, it seems a lot less intimidating to paint. Like you get to see, as you're putting the thing together, you get to kind of visualize how you're going to paint it. And some of those textures and reliefs on the armor, like the Death Guard symbol on the knee and the Death Guard symbol on the shoulder, are separate. So you put them on separately. There's a lot of detail there that's going to make it easy to paint, which is kind of a common misconception.
Nurgle is very forgiving in terms of hobby, what you do with your hobby. It feels like, and I'm not going to say that painting Nurgle is easy mode, because there are enough of those little details to bring out that if you really go gung-ho on it, you're going to be busy. You're going to be busy for a while. But the textures and all of that just lends itself to being able to pop those out so much easier.
And that's what we're going to talk about in the finishing moves, is the different types of texture that, like, with a Death Guard model, you have the ability to bring together like 9 finishing moves on the one model. So you can kind of spend as much time or as little time on them as you want. And I think that's one of the cool things about this army, is that you really can. You can weather it if you want. You can make it slimy if you want. You could, make festering wounds as opposed to, I guess, non-festering wounds. It's kind of your choice how far you take it.
Infected versus not yet infected.
Yeah, day old versus week old wounds. You get a lot of play here, and we're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to the finishing move segment in the second half of the show. But I guess we should just jump right to Mortarion and talk about. Look, that's what you want, right?
It's what you want, Paul. Okay. We all know it.
Thank you. Mortarion is 470 points. So he is more expensive than Magnus. And I think once we start diving down, it's going to be a fun comparison. Now, what are you talking? 470 points versus what is Magnus? 400 and something points? Figuring out how they came to that conclusion, I think, is going to be something we can debate, because that's what we do, and we talk about this stuff on podcast. You've seen the stat line: 2+, for weapon skill, B skill, ballistic skill, strength 8, toughness 7, 18 wounds, leadership 10 with a 3+ armor save. And this is one of those balancing things. Like, come on, man, I get it. We already talked about how Magnus is in a Speedo. Maybe he doesn't have a 2+ armor save. But Mortarion? But this is my fanboy talking. So y'all, forgive me. I
imagine that, all of the disease tends to rust away his formerly 2+ Horus Heresy armor.
I think that's a great way of putting it. But as we talk, we're going to find that he is incredibly durable, and even if that is just a game balance choice, he's still going to be just a brick house on the table. He's got the lantern as the famous plasma pistol. It's got an 18-inch range, pistol 1. That's relevant. This guy is going to dish out a ton of damage. He is. We were kind of talking pre-show, and I don't believe we factored in the additional pistol shot and what it does. I know you have to fire at the closest model, but it's a strength 8 -3 AP, 3 damage weapon. If you hit with this weapon, this is of course not in the close combat phase, whatever, in the fight phase, but if you hit with this weapon, draw a straight line between the closest point of Mortarion's base and that of the closest model in the target unit. Make a single wound roll against the target unit, and each unit the center of the line passes over. So this is not going to come up a lot, but you are going to be dumping a high strength, high damage wound on a unit some portion of the time.
And there's a good chance that, I mean, and the nice thing about this ability as well is because you may not have the best time of it with something like, say, a conscript blob or something like that. But if you're next to a row of tanks, 3 strength 8 wounds against tanks doesn't sound like an awful deal, does it?
You're firing on Primaris Marines or Paladins or something like that.
Yeah, anybody that's got more than 1 wound, absolutely.
Yeah, he does have, this guy Mortarion has a 12-inch movement, which will allow him to get in better positioning with this weapon. So there is that.
He has the fly keyword, right? I mean, he has fly wings.
He does.
Get better.
He does. He has giant wings, and he does have the fly keyword.
Now, does he have anything that lets him advance and still shoot or charge or anything? Are there any mechanics like that to help him get up the field?
He doesn't have that. I was hoping we get that kind of teleport rule like he has in 30K. But it's been replaced by the 12-inch move from the wings, and that's okay. He doesn't have any kind of extra advance and do anything crazy rule that I've seen so far.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at a 12-inch move, and it almost feels small, but then you remember he's Nurgle, and everything Nurgle has that sort of slow, relentless kind of thing.
He is the Usain Bolt of Nurgle.
You can also cast Warp Time on him, right?
He has a Heretic Astartes
and a demon.
Yeah, he's Chaos and Heretic Astartes, and I think for Warp Time it has to be on a Heretic Astartes unit, and he is.
And so ultimately for Chaos list designers, if you're thinking about ways to get him across the battlefield, you can Warp Time this guy. You can Warp Time Mortarion and be guaranteed that fat 24-inch move, and that'll put him exactly where you want him.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the only requirement for Warp Time is Heretic Astartes.
Now, here's my question then. With him being able to do that, he's all by his lonesome, right? How are you going to support him? What are you going to run up with?
Let me tell you the rest of his abilities, and then I'll let you define how much support he needs. But that is a good question, and I think we're gonna maybe some teleporting Terminators. But this is what this guy can do by himself. He's got the Ascendant's Claws and Teeth. I think these represent like his Nurglings that are hanging out. It's a melee weapon only, strength 2. But remember, he hits on a 2+, and it's a plague weapon. It's a 0 AP with 1 damage, but this is each time Mortarion fights, he makes D6 additional attacks with this weapon. The plague weapon rule is one of the Nurgle-based things where most things have some type of plague weapon ability, lets you reroll 1s to wound. So even though this thing is strength 2, you are going to be getting a little bit of damage out of this because you're going to be rerolling some of those wounds, our 1s, and we all know that, like, for instance, when you're fighting Gilliman, how many times he converts into a 5. I mean, it's alarming. Maybe that's a Primarch thing, convert into 5s, and so it'll follow Mortarion as well. So Silence, this is his scythe. This is the Man Reaper that they carries, and it has 2 attack profiles. One of them is called the Reaping Scythe, which is a melee weapon only, strength user, and he has strength 8. So remember that for the next profile. It is -2 AP, damage 1, and a plague weapon, so remember rerolling 1s. Make 3 hit rolls for each attack with this weapon instead of 1. So his 6 attacks convert to 18. He hits on 2s. His Nurgle Lord ability lets him reroll 1s to hit, and he's rerolling 1s to wound with strength 8.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This weapon reminds me of playing like Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and just having this big AoE attack and sweeping it across and sending like the sprites of your enemies flying in all directions. That's great.
This is like 18 wounds. -2 armor save, so of course things are going to get saves. And remember that, Marines are still going to be saving on a 5+ from this guy.
This reminds me of, and this is my disaffected, I'm not a fanboy. It reminds me of the stomp attacks for Imperial Knights right now. If you talk to Imperial Knight player,
Titanic feet is what they're called.
Titanic feet. Thank you.
The river dance.
Yeah, exactly. Most Imperial Knight players will tell you, they're like, yeah, I've never used, in all of 8th edition, I've never used the chainsword. I just use a
No
Titanic
reason
Feet.
to.
Because the math says, I mean, whether you
Well, Titanic Feet is 2 damage each, if I remember right.
certainly it is. But you scale the number of attacks you're talking about, right? For an Imperial Knight, you're talking about 4 or 5 attacks, as opposed to 6
Yeah,
base.
I think it's 12 instead of 12. Well, I'm only like checking the math here. It's like 12 attacks with the Titanic Feet versus 18 with Mortarion.
Well, it's 12 attacks as opposed
Yeah.
to 4 with the Reaper Chainsword, whereas Mortarion it's 18 as opposed to 6. And there are an infinitesimally small number of units in the game in which you're like, oh wow, I would actually rather have the D6 damage roll as opposed to 18 attacks.
Yeah.
And so if for probably 95% of combat interactions, more than that, probably 95 to 99% of combat interactions, you're going to be rolling this attack and going with your 18 attacks at strength 8. And
versus the eviscerating blow, which is his base attacks, which at full strength, now this does degrade. He goes from 6 to 5 to 4 as he takes damage. But the eviscerating blow is times 2 strength, so putting him at strength 16 with a neg 4 AP doing D6 damage, also being a plague weapon. So I think that's going to convert to lots of wounds where it matters. And your point is that you still want to be firing off a lot of 18 attacks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome in case you just stumble upon a Titan. But,
where did this come from?
Exactly.
Yeah, don't worry, brought the eviscerating blow.
It's even, I hate to pull the math hammer thing, but if you're fighting against strength 8, there is never a reason to not use the 18 attacks against strength 8, or toughness 8, excuse me. If you encounter toughness 8 or better, it's basically a coin toss whether or not you want to use the attacks that Paul just described.
Both of them are plague weapons. So I think that even further cements your point, or further, I guess, supports the point of that you're rerolling ones to wound, so you're going to convert a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're rerolling hits and wounds, and by that I mean you hit on 2s and you're rerolling 1s, and then you wound on 3s. Most of the time, rerolling 1s. There's a tremendous amount of hits and wounds. On average, something like 15 or 16 that are going to deliver at -2 AP. So even if you're attacking, like, for example, a Manticore, right, at T7, I would rather have 14 or 15 1-wound damage delivery mechanisms than 4 at D6.
Now, the D6, what's the AP minus on that?
It's -4. I mean,
okay.
that's strong.
I'm not poo-pooing it.
No,
I'm just saying.
No, your point is well made. I think that's well made. He also has Phosphex bombs, which are 6-inch range, grenade 2d6, strength 5, -1 AP, 1 damage.
Oh, he's got the Phosphex, huh? They brought that in. That's interesting.
He is loaded to bear. He has everything in the kitchen sink. So when this guy when this guy rolls up by himself, he just unloads all this death. I love it.
What's his invulnerable save?
A 4+ invulnerable save, yeah.
So it's remarkable how much. So he is, what do we say, 15 points more expensive than Magnus.
It's something. He's 50 to 15. I don't have Magnus right in front of me, but
I don't either. But I don't think he's much. I mean, Mortarion's 475?
470.
And Mortarion is, without any exterior addition.
Magnus is 415.
Okay. All right, so that's a big difference. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's an appreciable difference, I guess. Now that looking at it, 415 to 470.
For sure, I thought he was 450. That's fair. But nevertheless, Mortarion is wildly more survivable.
Well, it gets better. So let me keep on going down the line here. He has the Death to the False Emperor. So any 6s to hit convert into additional attacks. So that 18 hits just I mean it's not
21.
It's not going to be
on
pretty.
Average. It's 21 on average. Yeah,
not pretty. He is disgustingly resilient, which means he ignores damage on a 5+. So
huge.
It's really not easy to kill this guy. He has the Toxic Presence, so enemy units within 7 inches of Mortarion must subtract 1 from their toughness characteristic, so further amplifying his damage output in the melee phase, including the effectiveness of the Ascendant's Claw, or the Attendant's Claws and Teeth. He has a 4+ invulnerable save. He has the Host of Plagues. Roll a dice for each enemy unit that is within 7 inches of Mortarion at the start of the fight phase and consult Mortarion's damage chart. If the roll equals or exceeds the required value, the unit being rolled for suffers D3 mortal wounds. And at full strength, that starts at a 4+. I mean, that's just extra damage. That's what that says.
I don't hate it.
This is what I didn't expect. Mortarion is a psyker. He can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers and deny 3 psychic powers. And he knows the smite and 3 powers from the contagion discipline. And the contagion discipline is very important, and we'll talk about all the powers when we can, and probably hopefully within the confines of this show. But I want to talk about Miasma of Pestilence, which is one of the powers. So Mortarion can take this. If manifested, select a visible, friendly Death Guard unit within 18 inches. Units until the start of your next psychic phase, your opponent must subtract 1 from all hit rolls that target that unit. So on top of how tough Mortarion is, he can make himself -1 to hit.
That is huge.
I'm just trying to think of ways to shift this guy.
Yeah, you have to commit to killing this guy, because once he gets on you, he is going to be throwing grenades, firing his pistol, getting on you with a scythe, wiping you out with his scythe, consolidating into another unit, being -1 to hit.
And he'll give you a cold.
Yeah, -1 to hit with his 4+ invulnerable save, and disgustingly resilient with his 18 wounds. Those 18 wounds are going to go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, even mortal wounds, you're stopping a third of every mortal wound dealt to him. And can he take... Sorry, did we get to his warlord trait?
He does
Or
have. He does have a warlord trait that gets assigned to him because he's a named character.
Okay, yeah. I wanted to make sure he couldn't take the additional 6 up on top of that.
No, he cannot.
Because if he had a 5 up, 6 up, okay. I was making sure.
His warlord trait is the Arc Contaminator. And what that does is reroll all failed wound rolls when resolving attacks made with a plague weapon for any friendly Death Guard unit within 7 inches of your warlord. He's pretty much already doing it
Gilliman.
with his strength 8 or strength 16 and with a plague weapon, but he's going to buff units around him. And in that instance in which that you are attacking something you happen to need a 3/4, if you roll a 2, don't worry, Mortarion's warlord trait has you covered.
So Death Guard shooting is pretty good now.
Yeah, Mortarion is, I think his rules match what most people have the opinion of the character, and that's always perfect when that works out.
This guy's your tank. I mean, just putting this guy on the table demands that you deal with him. And I feel like if you're going to put out a Primarch model, it needs to be like that.
Yeah, and he's not a sit-back necessarily and buff guy. He's not going to be standing next to a bunch of Razorbacks, I don't think. I think he's going to be out there just handling business.
Yeah, and I think that it's important that we get more units like this, with Gilliman doing what he does, just giving the other armies that same, super powerful option is going to stop that feel badsies about how strong Gilliman is, because once everybody's special, nobody is.
And I say that with not sitting back and guard a bunch of Razorbacks. He could very well sit back and guard a bunch of Plague Burst Crawlers, which we'll talk about here in a second. Because those things, they've got, they're demons. And so when you hear the word demon, you got to think that they're probably going to not be Marine BS. And they hit on 4s. And we'll talk about the new units. We'll talk about some of the things that are the old units that how they've changed a little bit, especially some of the demons. The demons outside of the Beast of Nurgle got a little bit less expensive. But the Plague Burst Crawler is that cool tank you guys have seen pictures of. The one with the big mortar on its on the hull of it, on the top of the hull. This thing is a 12 wound model, toughness 8. And its primary weapon, the Plague Burst Crawler, is a single model equipped with a Plague Burst Mortar, Heavy Slugger, and 2 Plague Spitters. Now, I know I just said some stuff that doesn't mean anything, so I'm going to go down. And the model will replace its Plague Spitters with 2 Entropy Cannons, and these things are like Dark Lances. They're Heavy 1, Strength 8, a -4 AP with D6 damage.
This thing looks like a bombard cannon, a Colossus bombard made out with a Vindicator, and its mutated spawn came out, and it looks awesome.
The Plague Burst Mortar, its primary weapon, is a 12 to 40 unit. It has a minimum range of 12 inches with a maximum range of 48 inches. It's heavy D6, strength 8, -2 AP, D3 damage. It's also a plague weapon. So Mortarion's, warlord trait ability buffs this thing, and it can target units that are not visible to the firing model. So fully upgraded, this thing starts at 110 points. Fully upgraded with the 2 entropy cannons, the strength 8 d6 damage, negative 4 AP things we talked about, and the Rot Hail volley gun, which is a 24-inch heavy 3, strength 6, negative 2 AP, 1 damage weapon. That's the addition, like the hull mounted gun up there next to the siege shield type thing. It comes in at 162 points for a 12 wound vehicle that moves 9 inches and can fire at things out of line of sight.
Yeah, I think that's not too bad. I mean, I don't see it killing a lot of the super tough stuff. I mean, strength 6. I have some issues with strength 6. I just kind of feel like it's not
strength 8 on the mortar.
On the mortar. Okay, you said 6 on the hull mounted gun.
6 on the Rot Hail volley gun, which is like it's Stormbolter.
Oh, okay. I rescind what I just said about strength 6. Well, I in the context of
strength
this
6
tank,
is fine now.
Strength 6 is okay for a Stormbolter.
Yeah, strength 6 is pretty good for a Stormbolter.
And Andrew earlier in the pre-show made an excellent point about the entropy cannons.
Oh, just
it's just fun to say.
It's the end of the world gun.
The natural decay of reality.
Who doesn't love the word entropy?
The entropy cannons are not plague weapons, but the plague burst mortar is, and that's important. And I want to keep on talking about this guy's stats. It's got 12 wounds, toughness 8, with a 3+ save. It's also disgustingly resilient and comes with a demonic 5+ invulnerable save.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So 3 up save, toughness 8, right?
Yes.
It's toughness 8.
So toughness 8. 5 up invul, and then disgusting and resilient on top of that, and 12 wounds. Yeah, so it's going to sit there the whole game.
It's
going to sit there the whole
points.
game and
10
shoot.
of them are going to sit there. 6 of them are going to sit there and shoot. and
yeah,
okay, it's BS4, which originally had me
to
like,
sell this model.
I don't know if I like this thing, but then I added up the points. It's 110. The mortar is 0. The entropy cannons are 20 apiece, and then that Rot Hail volley gun is 12 points. So if I'm looking at that right, that's 162 points.
Woof.
And that dozer blade looks too cool,
that's why it's TA.
Boom.
I bet that's why.
I think that model looks cool. It's great, but if I catch any of you all holding Mortarion back just so that you can buff that tank instead of charging him into something, I will slap a model off the table.
I don't know, man. That tank demands
ABC,
you're doing it wrong.
Always be charging.
Yeah.
You're doing it wrong.
So the Death Guard, they don't have access to everything the Chaos Space Marines get. They get Defilers, and the Defilers do have the reduced point cost, so that's really great to see. They don't get Mauler Fiends. Death Guard do not get Mauler Fiends, and that, I will say, was something I had to kind of deal with until I noticed that they get another new vehicle on top of what we've seen so far. Now, if you guys have spotted the pictures out there, you'll see that the fetid bloat drone has different options on it. Not only does it have different options, it looks like you're going to be able to build a different vehicle altogether when we see its kit, and that is the Mephitic Blight Hauler. This thing is a land-based version of the fetid bloat drone.
I just so our listeners are aware, we are not preparing a list of names of things. Just look up every gross word in the dictionary. And just accept that it's all named after gross stuff.
Yeah. So the Mephitic Blight Hauler.
It is now a GW model.
It has a 10-inch movement.
Also known as the Can-Am Spider.
It does. It's like a 3-wheeler. The thing is built like with the 2 wheels up on the front. I don't know if it officially has a 3rd wheel in the back, but whatever. 10-inch movement.
It's probably a tentacle or something back there.
Weapon skill 4, BS4, strength 6, toughness 7, 8 wounds and 3 attacks. This is kind of important that it's got 8 wounds with 3 up save, disgustingly resilient, and a 5+ invulnerable save. So thing is tough, right? It's a weapons caddy, so it has on it. Each model is armed with a missile launcher, a multi-melta, and a bile spurt and gnashing maw. Now, when you add up all the points on this thing, it gets expensive. The base Mephitic Blight Hauler is 85 points. And so you add all the multi-melta and that stuff, you know what that is. But it has an ability, though, if you take 3 of them, you get something called a tri-lobe. You add 1 to all hit rolls made with this unit while it contains 3 models. Not just shooting hits, all hits.
So when you have 3, they're not considered individual units after deployment. So during the game, they're still considered a single unit.
It says this unit contains one Mephitic Blight Hauler. It can include up to 2 additional Blight Haulers. Each model is armed with what I just said. So it's 1 unit.
Okay.
It is a vehicle.
Okay.
It's a Chaos
And it is,
Heretic Stardy Death Guard vehicle.
And is it demonic at all?
It is demonic. You can't summon it, though.
So you could warp time these.
It is a Heretic
Well,
Astartes.
I was just thinking warp time could.
I don't think you want to do that with these guys. We'll read about the bloat drone upgrades here in a second. That has a putrescent fog. Friendly Death Guard infantry units that are entirely within 7 inches of the bloat drone hauler gain the benefit of cover when making armor saves.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice little bonus, right? So this is
considering how hard it is to get cover these days.
This is So Death Guard infantry only, so you can't put it next to the tanks, but it would work for things like Poxwalkers. Get them that 6+ armor save. So the fetid bloat drone, it's got the weapons that we know now, but you can also give it the flesh mower. This thing is not too bad. Each time it's a strength +2, so you're looking at a strength 8, -2 AP, 2 damage weapon. It's a plague weapon also. So each time a fetid bloat drone fights, it can make 6 additional attacks with this weapon. This thing, now it's hitting on a 4, but I think it is arguably better than the last tendrils on the Mauler Fiend. So you're losing the Mauler Fiend, but you're picking up things that I think you can make a case for as being just as good or maybe better than a Mauler Fiend. You got
the shooting, you got the force multiplier of the cover save going out. You got +2 strength?
Well, I jumped up to
over the Mauler Fiend. Is that correct?
The bloat drone doesn't give the cover. This is the flying version.
Right.
The Blight Hauler is the land version, the 3-wheeler, and the fetid bloat drone is the flyer that we know in the starter box.
It's all starting to blend together in my brain.
Well, this one you can put the flesh mower on.
So
you'll see lots of those.
There we go.
You're gonna need to just wait for the community to come up with great nicknames for all these things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This thing is. So the blow drone, we've already seen people playing them, and now you're going to be able to make them, I think, even more effective. And I think that's neat. This is like one of those old timey like lawnmower, like a mini death roller. On this flying drone, this fly thing. It's awesome. You do get Hellbrutes. So that's one thing. Remember, the Legion thing affects Hellbrutes. Beast of Nurgle, Plague Drones, and Nurglings and Plague Bearers. And the Plague Bearers are in this book.
So we do have the demons in there.
Yes. And the demons, except for the Beast of Nurgle, got a little bit less expensive.
Nice.
Kind of funny that the Beast of Nurgle has the Attention Seeker ability. It's only 38 points, by the way. This thing can do heroic intervention as if it were a character.
Yeah, it's always had some kind of like, hey, look at me, like jump in the assault kind of rule to it.
Yeah. You can do a mortal wound to enemies.
Somebody needs daddy's approval.
Yeah, that fall back from it. With the slime trail. So, whatever. It's 38 points. They're cool looking models. Death Guard don't stop there. They got tons of units that are coming out. You've seen some pictures of things, and we'll talk about it right now. Let me talk about the Tallyman. I think this is going to make you guys pretty excited. Actually, let's take a quick break and then come back and talk about the Tallyman and the Blight Lord and Death Shroud Terminators.
Sounds good.
All right, see you in a minute.
Forged Narrative is brought to you by DiceHead.com. www.dicehead.com. Games, hobby, supplies, and comics. They have it all.
Hey everybody, we are back. I still got Ricky and Chris.
Hello.
It's Ricky and Morty tonight.
Andrew may turn up here again pretty soon. We'll see. Some technical difficulties. If you were hearing this, Warzone Atlanta is already sold out. We're not releasing this episode until Saturday. As you know, I'm going to put this up as for our first opportunity. Warzone Atlanta tickets for the main event went on sale on Thursday of this week for our November 10th through 12th event here in Atlanta. Friday night events, I have to imagine, I'm doing a little forecasting here, but I believe Friday night events will still have some availability. And if you are interested in coming to the event, please get on the wait list and let us know. That's the best way. We're going to go down in order as slots open up, or if we are able to open up any more space from the wait list. But if you want to come and check it out, if you haven't already, come to the Friday night events. This is an absolute stellar event put on by Forge the Narrative and the local gaming crew, the general staff. Cannot wait to welcome returning players, new players, and absolutely have the best party in 40K coming up here in November.
It's going to be an awesome time, guys.
Yeah, man. Fun. Third year. This is the 4th major event we've run. 0 drops in the events. So I think it's a little bit of a testament to how fun things are.
I plan my entire social calendar around this event, so it's pretty good. I mean, it's okay. If you like that sort of thing, it's okay, yeah.
You like having a great time in a table service with drinks. You never have to leave the table for a refill. Okay.
I've heard it's fun.
The Tallyman. All right, back to the Nurgle coverage. The Tallyman, he's not really an offensive character by himself. He's about 60 points base, and he can get a plasma pistol. I think that's what you can arm him with. But he's a buff character. The Festering Zealot rule. He has Death of the False Emperor. He's disgustingly resilient and Festering Zealot. You can reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase for friendly Death Guard units that are within 7 inches of the model.
Does he tally me bananas?
You wait. Just wait. I'm gonna get to the tally me bananas. 7 bananas. The answer is 7.
It's 7.
7-foot bunch right here. That's not rerolling ones, by the way. That is rerolling hits. Reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase for friendly Death Guard units, so they're in 7 inches of the model. And his big whammy ability is the 7-fold chant. If your army is battle-forged and you have any tallyman on the battlefield, roll 2d6 each time you spend command points to use a Death Guard stratagem. Specifically a Death Guard stratagem. This will be important when we talk about some of the weird things you think you can do, but you can't. If the result is a 7, Nurgle bestows his blessing upon your army. The command points spent to use the stratagem are immediately refunded.
Ooh.
I mean, we're going to talk about the stratagems here in a few minutes, but just imagine getting free stratagem uses out of this guy. 7 is a pretty common roll, so saith Vegas.
Well, it's Demo.
That's just what the Vegas wants you to think.
Yeah. So, I mean, that means you could take a risk here. Maybe you buy multiple relics and go into the game. And I want to talk about that. This says a tallyman on the battlefield. So I take that to mean that pre-game things, you do not get the chance to reap those command points back. So because this specifically says if your army is battle forged and you have a tallyman on the battlefield, roll 2d6 each time you spend the command points. So I'm going to say no pre-game stuff. That's my interpretation.
I think that's
on the battlefield, right?
Yeah, safe. So 7-fold chant, no pregame stuff, but the stuff you do, such as there's one of the stratagems that lets you detonate your vehicle. You don't roll to see if you get the 4+ to the 6 or whatever. You just spin the command point and detonate the vehicle. With some of the stuff we've been talking about pushing in people's faces that have the explode rule. Maybe you do that every time you get the opportunity. Sure, I mean, it's like 1 mortal wound in most cases, but when it's an extra mortal wound, and if the thing's dying anyway, it might as well take somebody with it and maybe get that command point back.
Yeah, and I don't think that Death Guard players are going to have a shortage of command points anyways, simply because you can fill out so many battalions or even a brigade with a bunch of Poxwalkers. You
can, although the other stuff outside of that one tank we talked about will add up pretty quick. And we'll talk about some Terminators here that do. They start to just kind of dig at the points. But some of the other cool stratagems that you can use it on is the Nurgle's Rot. But that's a 1 per game thing, but it is 3 command points. The stratagem used once per battle in the shooting phase. Select a friendly Death Guard character and roll a d6 for every unit within 7 inches of them. On a 4+, the unit being rolled for suffers D3 mortal wounds. Nurgle models cannot suffer wounds from Nurgle's Rot. In fact, they find it rather refreshing.
Gross.
Yeah. And the other thing is the Putrid Detonation.
That is disgusting.
Detonation. They do get several of the Chaos Space Marine ones, like Killshot and the Chaos Boon and the Veterans of the Long War, which is good, especially when we start looking at everything here. Adding 1 to all wound rolls made for the unit with 1 stratagem is pretty strong, but they are listed here as Death Guard stratagems. So even though they exist in the other book, these are Death Guard stratagems for the purposes of Death Guard Battleforged armies, or Battleforged detachments within armies. Yeah.
There are stratagems in the Chaos, or you said the Chaos Index, but there are also stratagems in the same stratagem, but they're worded in there. That way they do count as Nurgle.
Yeah, they're listed as
Death Guard
saying? Stratagems. So even like the Kill Shot,
gotcha.
Which we know from the Space Marine and Chaos Space Marine book listed as those respective factions, they are Death Guard stratagems here to be able to use with the Tallyman.
Gotcha, cool. All right, sorry.
The Cloud of Flies, which has been featured on the Warhammer community site, there's probably going to be a lot more Death Guard stuff up there too coming up soon. If you haven't already seen it, check that out. You can see some of the pictures of some of this stuff. The Cloud of Flies is use this stratagem during your movement phase. Select a Death Guard infantry unit. Until the start of your next movement phase, enemy models can only shoot this unit if it's the closest visible target. I think this is a game winner. I think it's very strong. I think for things like progressive objective missions, which you can see in our missions and tournament missions, all across, tournaments in general, but also for things like Emperor's Will, this objective grabs in general, I think the Cloud of Flies is going to be something that is pretty functional.
Now, does Mortarion count as an infantry unit?
He doesn't, no.
Okay.
No, that would be amazing.
Right. Well, this is basically giving an entire unit the character rule, right?
Yeah.
And on the back end of this, like if you have some infantry long range shooters, that's going to be super telling in a very reliable way of keeping that unit safe from counter fire, because this will work if it works just like the character rule. It's going to prohibit even artillery that don't need line of sight from shooting at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you cannot target it unless it's the closest model.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a really powerful
and it's one
move.
Command point, so use it. Who cares if the Tallyman doesn't get it back? You're going to be able to do it again, and you probably get the Tallyman roll back again. With the Tallyman's roll, remember that the command point that allows you to reroll a die is not a Death Guard stratagem, so you wouldn't get that back. But if you burn the 3 command points and you don't roll a 7, you roll any combination of dice, burn that 1 command point to see if you get those 3 back, so you're netting 2.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, again, 7, pretty common roll.
It's definitely worth a shot, and you're absolutely going to want to do that for your big spenders. And just because you have a lot of command points doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have more than half of them left after the end of the first turn. Honestly, I feel like burning the command points early is so strong, but when you have them later in the game, like having just that 1 die to reroll for a clutch save or a clutch damage roll, like this could give you that game-winning advantage.
You could go infinite. You could never run out of command points. And I think that most Death Guard armies, once you start adding in all the crazy stuff, like the powerful stuff, you're going to have 6, 7 command points, something like that. And so, trying to burn through all of them in the first couple of turns with the Death Guard stratagems and maybe getting them back is going to help win games.
Yeah, I know that the tech isn't super well maintained by Nurgle in his garden, but can we all just laugh at the fact that this guy's using an abacus?
He likes to, it's visceral. He likes to really, he's in tune with what's going on.
You never run out of batteries with an abacus.
That's right. Traveling through the warp, it's could be long periods of time. The other
calculators just don't work as well. For
maybe they'll bring back like the 1,000 Suns are going to have like a calculator watch because they're nerds.
I mean, the old Noise Marines were like the most 80s thing ever with like the electric guitars, and then it's just like I could totally see if anybody in 40k would have a watch calculator, it would be some 1,000 Suns, dude.
So the other unique things in the Death Guard army list are the new Terminators. Now, you've seen a couple of different Terminator models, and these both wear cataphracti armor. So it's that bulkier style plate that has a really cool aesthetic. Obviously looks nice. As nice as Nurgle can. But it fits the mood of what you kind of consider these guys and helps make them distinct. The Deathshroud Terminators, their base points, they're like 100 points apiece once you start adding all this stuff. It's a lot of points. I overshot the point value, I think, right there, but they're a lot of points. But they've got some neat abilities. They've got the Plague Spurt Gauntlet, which is a plague weapon, and the Man Reaper, which is also a plague weapon. But they've got a rule, in addition to their 4+ invulnerable save, and then if they're within Death Guard characters within 3 inches of any friendly Deathshroud Terminator unit, except Mortarion, add 1 to their attack characteristic. They are the eyes of Mortarion, so I guess they're spying on or they're feeding back information to Mortarion, so they don't have to tell Mortarion anything. But all the other characters are trying to impress the Primarch. So, whatever. But you want to get these guys close to a character anyway, because they have a silent bodyguard rule. Roll a dice each time a friendly Death Guard character is hit by a ranged or melee weapon whilst he's within 3 inches of this unit. On a 2+, one of the Death Shrouds intercepts that hit. The character is not hit by the attack, but this unit is instead.
So now it's hit by the attack, but it doesn't do the normal bodyguard thing of taking a mortal wound, does it?
No, that was it. That was the end of the sentence.
So you still get to make your save with something else.
Yeah, you get a 4+ invulnerable save, and they have a 2+ armor save with these guys.
Yeah, that doesn't seem awful. Depending on what you're protecting.
They can teleport. Well, they can protect Mortarion.
As if he needs it. But this answers my question from earlier, doesn't it? Like, who's going to back Morty up?
That you could conceivably throw several of these down, and they've got 2 wounds apiece. They're not the 3-wound Terminators, and I would have liked to seen 3 wounds on these guys. But they're still pretty strong with the disgustingly resilient rule that they have and the 4+ invulnerable save.
I think they're plenty survivable.
And if you consider that you could conceivably be buying 6 extra wounds for Mortarion, that's not bad.
That could have some value. I mean, it's all going to turn into how hot your dice are. Because if you're not making any of those saves, then life sucks, and you think, why did I spend 300 points on these 3 guys?
The bodyguard rule goes off on a 2+, so you still got to roll for it, but it's that part is very reliable.
Well, you used to have to roll for Lookout Sir too, but I mean, it's not like Lookout Sir didn't happen all that often.
Oh yeah. This is these guys have a great abilities. I think they're a little expensive, but they are Strength 5, Toughness 5. So that can't be undersold. And their weapon is a Man Reaper, strength +3 strength, which gives them effective strength 8 with -3 AP with 3 damage, and it's a plague weapon. So swinging strength 8, rerolling 1s to wound, you're gonna get a lot of wounds.
Yeah. So basically, touch them from arm's length.
Yeah, their ranged weapon is only 6 inches, so were they to teleport strike, they're not firing their pistol, but it is a pistol, D6 weapon, so if they get the charge off, they'll be able to shoot it next round. In addition, it's pistol D6 plague weapon, and it automatically hits, so it's like a flamer weapon.
Yeah, they're basically like blowing their noses at you or something.
I think that's exactly what they're doing. It's a long straw that goes from their nose to their wrist.
This is my problem with Nurgle, okay? This is why, any other army you're playing, you like to sit there and visualize everything that's happening, and you're making your pew-pew noises and all that. Anytime you play against Nurgle, you're doing everything you can to not visualize what is happening.
You don't know which orifice to avoid.
The answer is all
exactly. There's too many weapons. Yeah, too many weapons.
Yeah. The next thing the Terminators and these guys they have a higher power level. And they come with a 5-man squad base instead of the Death Shroud, which is a 3-man squad base. But the Blight Lord Terminators, these guys are pretty much the elite style Chaos Terminators. They're the ones that get lots of different weapon options. You can take the combis on them, you can take the autocannon on them, and you can take the Bubonic Axe, which is a -2 AP +1 strength damage weapon. But you can also take the Flail of Corruption for every 5 models in the unit. The Flail of Corruption is a plague weapon, so, those rules keep coming back. Make D3 hit rolls for each attack with this weapon instead of 1. It's not going to be that many all the time. Make D3 hit rolls for each attack with this weapon instead of 1. Excess damage from this weapon, remember it's a 2-damage weapon, is not lost. Instead, keep allocating damage to other models in the target unit until either all the damage has been allocated or the unit has been destroyed. And you're swinging this thing at strength 6, -2 AP, 2 damage each.
So
that guy stole that from the Dark Angels.
I was just going to say, these guys are green, they're traitors, and they have a flail.
You shut your mouth.
Dark
Shut your mouth. But yeah, it is eerily similar to a certain flail that I know of. But yeah. And so that's 1 in every 5 can have it?
For every 5 models in the unit, 1 Blight Lord Terminator. You only put this on a 2-base attack guy. You couldn't put it on the Blight Lord Champion. One right. Blight Lord Terminator may replace their Combi Bolter and Bubonic Axe or Combi Bolter and Bale Sword with a Flail of Corruption.
Yeah, but I mean, why would you not? Because you're going from 2 attacks to a minimum of 2, potentially 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, on average, you're getting 4. So
yeah, these guys get the Blight Launcher, which is the Strength 6 D3 damage weapon, Plague Weapon also. But you could also get the other things like Combi Flamers and Combi Meltas, Plasma Guns, Combi Plasma, and the Reaper Autocannon if you wanted a little bit of reach out and touch someone from 36 inches away. They disgusting resilient rule, and they have an aura of rust. Each time you make a wound roll of 6+ for one of this unit's melee weapons, increase the AP of that attack by 1. An example, AP2 becomes a AP -3.
Oh, this is going to be one of those things that I hope my opponent conveniently forgets.
But now you know, so you got to remind him.
Now that rule.
Oh, my guilty conscience!
It doesn't. So it's just a blanket applied to all of your weapons on that unit, right?
Yes.
It doesn't stack each time it hits. It's just
each 6
if the weapon was
on that weapon. It's each time you make a wound roll of 6. Sorry, each time you make a wound roll of 6.
Oh, okay.
So you've already made the hits with that. You're rolling a wound with that particular weapon.
Gotcha. Okay.
There are yet more unique models in the Death Guard army. They've got the Plague Surgeon. This guy's all right. He's a gene seed thief. This is in that picture of the video where you see it looks like a Death Guard apothecary. Add 1 to all hit rolls made in the fight phase against Adeptus Astartes infantry. Trying to get that gland.
Man, I'm pretty sure the Tyranids will have some copyright infringement things to say about this.
Yeah, I think you're right. Harshen their gig a little bit. It has the Tainted Nartheseum. You may re-roll any disgusting resilient rolls of 1 made for friendly Death Guard infantry units within 3 inches of this model. Yeah.
Also something to conveniently forget.
He's a power level 4 unit, so he's not a ton of points. The next unique thing is the Biologus Putrefier. This is that dude, I think, that has the cool-looking, like, crystals hanging from his backpack, or crystal globes hanging from his backpack. He has the Hyper Blight Grenades, which is a grenade D6, strength 4, damage 2, and then it's a plague weapon, and each wound roll of a 6+ made for this weapon inflicts a mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage.
There are far worse grenades out there. I'm going to say that. I don't know how often you're going to chuck this thing, but there are far worse grenades out there than that.
He can blow up. He's got that blow-up ability rule. And he has Blight Rack, which increases the strength and damage characteristics of all Blight grenades carried by friendly Death Guard units by 1. Yeah. In addition, while the unit is within 3 inches of this model, each wound roll of a 6+ made when attacking with a Blight grenade inflicts the mortal wound in addition to its normal damage.
Anytime I see mortal wounds in addition to normal damage, I get excited. So
it seems to always work.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's another.
Yeah. Well, hey, take 3 instead of 2.
Yeah. A Foul Blight Spawn is another character. These guys, again, he's got one of his things. He's got the Unholy Death's Head. Each Foul Blight Spawn carries a single Unholy Death's Head grenade. Once per battle, a Blight Spawn or other friendly Death Guard character within 3 inches of him can throw an Unholy Death's Head grenade instead of either a Blight Grenade or a Hyper Blight Grenade. When you do so, change this weapon's type to Grenade 2d6.
It's like the Holy Hand Grenade from Monty Python.
It's the Unholy. He has Revolting Stench. Each unit that charged this unit are within 7 inches of this model at the start of the fight phase are struck by a stench so foul they falter, losing their impetus. Such a unit does not get to fight first in the fight phase, but can be chosen to fight like other units that did not charge. This ability also affects units who have abilities that would enable them to fight first if they had charged.
Oh my gosh.
I
just imagine like some Howling Banshees just rushing up, screaming their heads off and going, "Oh my gosh."
Who did that?
I was just thinking, what happens if Emperor's Children charge Death Guard?
Yeah.
Who swings
they
first?
Charge this guy and they're within 7 inches.
Who swings first?
They can't. They lose the ability. You have to activate them as normal.
But if they're Emperor's Children, they're actually enjoying it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Noxious Blightbringer, another character. Again, these guys have a lot. I mean, I was going to say they have a lot of character in the army, but I'm not even trying to be a pun there. Like all these models look really unique and have like the Tallyman. You know, you've seen that guy in the pictures. They just have a lot of distinctiveness for this army, and they're going to be fun to paint, even if you don't use them as the character models that they're supposed to be. They're going to be cool sergeant upgrades, psychers. You know, these are awesome models. This is the guy with the big bell on his back, by the way.
I love that one.
Yeah.
I think if anybody can come up to me and actually name off all these units without misspeaking, deserves a beer, because
with having a cheat sheet.
Yeah, I feel like there's some
and
sort
two
of
if you've already had a few.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Then it gets extra tough.
There's a drinking game in there somehow. I don't know where, but we'll find it.
The new and improved, cheaper Typhus is still in the book. I mean, obviously he's still there. You know, he's going to be there. New model and everything. Lord of Contagion, pretty much the same. The Demon Prince of Nurgle. This is going to cause a little confusion, I think. The Demon Prince of Nurgle, as you know, that particular model does not have wings on it. The War Gear option says that you may add wings to the model, but in the point section, there is no points for a Demon Prince with wings, like there is in the other book. So
I feel an FAQ coming on that. Yeah.
Just keep that in mind. I do not believe you'll be able to take a Demon Prince of Nurgle with wings. You got Mortarion, so, you know, Crimea River, but I don't think you're going to be able to do it.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that there's going to be some sad pandas for sure, especially all those people that put wings on their Nurgle Demon Princes. But I have one friend in particular who always said that flight was due to another organ. We'll put it that way, and he's going to be very happy that he didn't bother with that.
Yeah. I can see a lot of these guys being able to be really aggressive and utilizing the ability. I played a game with a player who's just getting back into the game. I was playing Grey Knights, and he was playing some like a mixture of Primaris Marines and some AdMech things, and I showed him the Scooch. That's where you charge and you don't make contact. You're an inch away from the enemy, and then you get to kind of swing your 3 inches in to lock up other units. I can see the Scooch being used to really maximize some of the auras of some of these characters.
He just does a little scooch here and a little scooch there.
Then look, everybody's neg toughness, and I don't know why Mortarion is killing everybody, but that's just what he does. I've been so excited about this release that I picked up a pair of the Fan Kicks, the officially licensed Games Workshop, but by Games Workshop shoes. They're very much like the old Chuck Taylor's Converse shoes, but they come with officially printed logos and icons from Warhammer 40k.
I've got my Blood Angel shoes on right now.
As a matter of fact, everyone on the show has a pair of these Fan Kicks.
Every single one of us.
No, they're not all Death Guard Fan Kicks.
No, because that's disgusting.
But I have Death Guard Fan Kicks.
I don't like to buy shoes pre-dirty.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't want them to stink before I get them.
It came perfect, as you'd imagine, at fankicks.com. They have other licensed property as well. These things, again, they're made by a company. They have, the thing about them is that they have a zipper that goes around the sole so you can sub out your various fandoms. So even though I have the Death Guard, I can get another top, which I did. I got some Blood Angel tops also because you know where my real heart is. But
it's apparently not on your feet.
Well, sometimes they will be. That's all I can say. But while I'm going to be building these guys, I will be decked out in my Death Guard Fan Kicks. And it's worth checking out. You've seen them on the Independent Characters podcast and on their Facebook feed. We're going to be posting some up as well. I wore them all yesterday. They've got enough room in them to where I could put an insole in them if I wanted to, depending on what I'm going to be using, how often I'm going to be wearing them. Anyway, I liked them. I like them.
Yeah, I was really happy with mine. And I'm just going to say, however they shipped my package when I ordered mine for my nephews and my son, I don't know what in the world happened, but it said, I remember checking the shipping and it was like, it will be there in like 3 days or something. And I get home and they're there in like the next day.
It's magic.
They went through a time warp or something, but I got those things and I haven't stopped wearing them since. So
it's magic.
Really happy with them.
Let's talk quickly about the relics and then and the psychic powers, like very briefly as we possibly can on this stuff. We'll cover again. We'll definitely cover the high points anyway, and then we'll take a quick break and then come back with the finishing move segment, which will be about some of these gnarly painting techniques. So you've seen on the community site the supporting plate. Now a lot of relics have to replace something, like you have to have a power sword to replace it to get the burning blade or whatever. And the stuff here for Nurgle, the only things that are specific is the Noxious Blightbringer. This is the Dolorous Knell.
Dolorous Knell.
The Dolorous Knell?
Yes. Dolores, I don't know who Dolores is, but I'm pretty sure she's probably a little bit cleaner than that.
She got bells, son. She got bells.
Like a Dolores hurt you in the past, and you just can't forget it.
And which is for the Blightbringer only, and then the Pandemic Staff, which is for Psychers only. The separating plate, it doesn't replace anything. It just says, and remember, this has to go on Death Guard characters that don't already have something that classifies as a relic. So the name characters are considered to have relics already. Where they do have a relic anyway. But the plate, the bearer has a save characteristics of 2+. In addition, roll a dice each time this model passes a saving throw. In the fight phase, on a 4+, the unit that inflicted that wound suffers a mortal wound after all of its own attacks have been resolved. That's
Jerk.
on 4+. You're bouncing a mortal wound back.
That doesn't suck. If you're getting a save,
it's extra stuff. You know you're going to want to be in the face of the enemy anyway. And it's an extra mortal wound, and you're rocking a 2+ save. So you're taking one of these three armor save dudes, bumping him up to a 2+, which is a lot better. And he's going to bounce back a mortal wound on a 4+.
And you can throw this on a Demon Prince too.
Yes,
right?
you can. Who will come with a invulnerable save?
Yeah. No, I think that's where we're going to see it the most.
Yeah, I think so. There is a helm in here that increases the range of some of the aura abilities. It basically says the Fugaris. The Fugaris' helm increases the range of any aura abilities on its data sheet by 3 inches, and that doesn't replace anything. There's a Plague Skull of Gothilla, which is a weapon. It's a grenade. Again, this book is super hot on grenades. They love these grenades.
They used a lot during the Horus Heresy. They had a lot of those bioweapons and things. It feels appropriate.
Yeah, and there's a D3 damage Plague Sword that does, I think, also additional mortal wounds. Yeah, this mortal wounds and grenades, if that's your jam, you're going to love Death Guard. If you love killing things with a Primarch, Death Guard are also going to be your jam. The psychic powers, you heard us talk about the Miasma of Pestilence earlier, that subtract 1 to hit. Plague Wind is pretty good. As you know, that used to be the large blast template, kind of short range. This is now an 18-inch psychic power that manifests on a 5. If manifested, select a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. Roll 1 dice for each model in that unit. The unit suffers a mortal wound on a 6 for each roll of a 6. So 20 mans in the unit, roll 20 dice, mortal wound for every 6.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you might get 6 or 7. Even if you're unlucky, you'll get 2 or 3, and hey, that's dead dudes.
Yeah, the Blades of Putrefaction. This is something you cast on a friendly Death Guard unit within 18 inches. Until the start of your next psychic phase, add 1 to all wound rolls made by that unit in the fight phase. Furthermore, any wounds of a 7+ made for that unit in the fight phase with a melee plague weapon, plague sword, any weapon with plague in the title, basically, inflicts a mortal wound on the target in addition to other damage. Again, this is the beat down army.
Now you just got to get them there.
Yeah. There's a vitality power that lets you increase the unit's strength and toughness by 1. Death Guard infantry unit only, specifically. And here's the Curse of the Leper. Its casting power is 6. If manifested, roll 7 dice. The closest visible enemy unit within 14 inches of the Psyker suffers a mortal wound for each roll that exceeds its toughness characteristic.
So you roll a d6 for every model in the unit. Was that right?
No, you roll 7 dice. And
for
every
7 dice.
die
Okay.
that comes up above the toughness of the models in the unit, they take a mortal wound.
Okay, I like that because of the aura. What's his face's aura that reduces toughness to anything around him. So you get him near that, then you pop this off.
And he's got he could cast this himself.
Exactly, Eldar. Sorry, you're goners. Even Marines, T4 Marines, they drop down to T3. You roll 7d6. Marines are coming off the table.
Veteran squads from IG, the Adeptus Mechanicus, like all the Skitarii dudes.
They're like all T3, right?
You're wearing them out.
Yeah, they're coming down to 2, and you're rolling 7 dice. You're getting what? 5,
I know
maybe
they
6.
have, they've got other ways to kind of mitigate morale and stuff right now, but you do 3, 4, 5 wounds to them, then you're picking up whole units. And this is with the psychic powers. Remember, well, in shooting too, you can spread your stuff around. You just like, I'm shooting all you guys, and now since you're next to Dolores, you're -1.
Dolores.
All right, Paul, you need to build a model and name it Dolores now.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of combo potential in here, including the Verboten putting Mortarion next to a bunch of those plague crawlers.
Verboten?
You're not doing it. You do it, and we're going to have a talk. If you do that. No.
The librarius may need to do an intervention to teach Paul word stuff.
So the Death Shroud Terminators.
Just take a shot.
We mentioned the base. I'm going over the points now. Their base 50 points. So they're one of those ones to where I think you have to be kind of calculated, and you don't need to take them accidentally. You need a purpose for them if you're going to be spending those kind of points on them and their weapons. And it is definitely a worthy investment if you've got a plan for them, I think. But, right now on the initial outset, I'm thinking just extra wounds from Mortarion. But, you never know. Poxwalkers are 6 points apiece. They do the Poxwalker thing. Math says with the disgustingly resilient, the ability to give them some cover, give them a 6+ armor save with a 5+ invulnerable, and they have the ability to restock their units when they kill things. There's a stratagem that lets them just restock their units from things killed around them. This is going to be, I think, a pretty fun and powerful army that on the surface, you start looking at things and some of the points may seem a little high, but they're low in other places. And then, Mortarion is an absolute truck.
Yeah. He's like flying ahead of everybody else, and they're like, "Wait for me, boss."
Well, you can summon demons. Now, Mortarion is a character; he can summon demons himself, and there is that stratagem that lets you jump up the power by roll 4 dice and not take any mortal wounds if you roll doubles or triples. And, so he can summon a little bit of a vanguard force on his own and kind of slingshot him up a little bit.
Well, he's going to have to, because he's going to outrun his entire army. So, I mean, some demons, some Poxwalkers or something are going to have to come in.
They got to advance big time.
Yeah. You better be rolling 6s on those runs.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break, come back, talk some finishing moves, and hopefully everyone's enjoying all this Nurgle goodness.
Yuck.
Make sure to grab your tickets for the SoCal Open 2017, occurring in lovely Del Mar, California, October 21st and 22nd. This awesome event features Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Infinity, War Machine and Hordes, Drop Fleet and Drop Zone Commander, and so much more.
As you just heard, this segment is sponsored by Frontline Gaming. I want to talk about sores, poxes. We talked about this stuff before. We've talked about how you can change the look of things from a very angry or very pussy type wound on something, but it's not just about wounding. Death Guard lend themselves to all types of effects, including, just making sure you put the right color wash around rivets. Like sometimes we deal with, when we're just trying to shade a rivet, right? We might just put that one little dot of Nuln Oil to hopefully, I say this, hopefully collect right around that rivet.
Gently caress it like it's a newborn child.
Yeah, just wrap it right around that rivet. Now we're not talking about a large area of space here. Now sometimes you see people that when you're watching tutorials, they'll try to paint a line of shade or something, or paint even, to come down as like a rust streak on a rivet. As you've heard us talk before, do not be afraid to be bold with your rust colors. Like you could get an orange wash to do what we're talking about. If you felt like really, really thinning down some Fire Dragon Bright or whatever it's called now and doing this, you could, but there's lots of orange wash products and even the GW stuff, Typhus Corrosion. This stuff works. I know it's called Typhus Corrosion and I just said that almost ironically, but this stuff works perfectly perfect for some of these effects. So like with a rivet, you don't, maybe on your Death Guard tanks, you don't want to shade just around that rivet. You don't want it to hug around that little knob. You want to, maybe you paint it down, maybe you got the hand strokes to paint it down, but if you don't have the hand, I guess, discipline to paint it down, once you put that little bit around the nub, it's the best way to describe it, you can put a little bit of water. You don't want a lot. You just want a little bit of water on your brush. Give it about maybe 10 seconds to pretend to start drying, and then you can drag that slightly damp paintbrush down from, touch on the rivet and drag it down, and it's going to give you an organic streak for your rivet to give you some instant weathering on your tank.
Yeah, and often, like, just letting gravity do the work can really help the sort of natural feel to that corroded effect that you're going for, because and it does need to have at least enough water on it to drag and to spread around. Yeah, you want it to dry too quickly.
Reactivate that paint just a little bit, just enough to give it, to let you play with it.
Yeah, and you're not going to want to do it after it's already dried. Like if whatever effect that you've put on there, if it's already dried and it's a wash,
yeah, it won't work.
You're gonna have it's not gonna work as well.
Yeah, you want to give it the hint. This will take practice. You want it to just start to harden up a little bit, and then you want to drag it. I'm talking about, you want to give it 30 seconds. You might give it 45 seconds depending on humidity in your area, but then drag that slightly damp brush with no paint. There's no color on the brush at this point. You have a clean brush with a little bit of damp water on there, and you're dragging that slightly reactivated paint down from the rivet to give you that streak, a very, very organic streak.
Yep.
That's one thing you can do for Nurgle. Now, when you start talking about sores, we did that talk about finishes on the last episode, and we talked about textures on previous episodes. The technical paints from GW have some texture built into them, and it's not like texture basing paint, so it's not chalky or thick or chunky really in instances, but it's got a bit of texture to them, and that includes the blood for the blood god.
Yeah, that has almost kind of it's almost like a glossy sheen to it.
Yeah, and you could use it. You can get in recesses with that stuff, and that will give you almost like layers of texture, even on one sore or wound. Or, you want to when I say cake up a bolter or cake up a weapon, you don't want to layer it to where you obscure the detail. So less is more in this case, but you do want to put on a little bit more than maybe you would just streak across a chain sword or a chain axe for a berserker. You want to really give the impression that either this wound is still seeping or whatever. But with Nurgle, I think you have the liberty to go a little bit more heavy-handed with the textures, and it will pay off for you, because that's what organic and bodily fluids and rust and grime does. It has a feel to it that regular paint doesn't give to you.
And one thing that, just to kind of add a little asterisk to Paul's
who's the Dolores now?
Got it. Point taken. But if you are going to obscure detail, you can, if you're doing it on purpose. And while there are happy accidents out there, just keep in mind that in these cases where it's trying to look dirty, and the Death Guard models are doing a lot of this work for you, if you're going to make that decision, make it a decision and not just something that happens and ends up looking bad or obscuring those details. Those are decisions that every artist has to make, right? Whether you're intentionally breaking a quote unquote rule of doing something, but there are situations where you may find this spot and you think, I need something that a dry brush can pick up some lighter textures on. Because if you have a texture already on there, the dry brush is going to pick up those raised details and is going to create that gritty look a little bit more than your conventional flat surface.
I think another thing to remember when you're doing these textures and when you're doing, like when you're throwing blood for the blood god on there, that always comes off with that kind of that glossy, still wet, look to it. And especially with a lot of Nurgle models, when you're doing like vomit or pussy stuff, really think about what kind of finish you're going to want on that as your end result. You don't want to go putting this blood for the blood god on and wanting it to stay glossy if you're going to put on some sort of satin or matte
varnish
like over that. Yeah, so that may be something that you want to do after you seal the rest of the model and then put it on.
Yeah.
So just be aware of your process. So when you do your first model, like that test model, just be aware of that. That way you get a process going so you don't have to go back and redo steps.
Yeah, that's a great advice, especially because you will, once you seal it, you'll be like, something's missing here, and that'll be it. But with, now I know Marines are easy to squad mark for the most part. Now, Nurgle Marines and stuff have a lot of detail on them, but say, for instance, if you were trying to squad mark up your Poxwalkers, some of them could bleed Nihilix Oxide, and some of them can bleed Blood for the Blood God.
That's a good way to secure some of those squad marking hobby points.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantasy game. Don't be afraid to get experimental with it.
With those guys, I kind of like the idea. Me personally, I like the idea of kind of doing them all with the same base coat of icky, gross green, and then maybe a different wash over them or a different glaze to just tint it in different shades. And then it'll kind of all tie together, but they'll all just be a little bit different shade of that same putrid green. That's one way to do it as well.
I agree with that. If the washes aren't your thing for weathering, because weathering up a lot of brass and golder colors, it's a little bit more difficult, I think, than just weathering up a silver or whatever. Silver with an Agrax Earthshade over it is going to look, money, right? I mean, that's going to look old. It's going to look dirty. It's going to do exactly what you want. Weathering up brass and still keeping like some actual color and stuff to it, not that easy. And it patinas differently than silver or even gold does. So
now, one thing I also want to bring up, Paul, is we've done a lot of talking about things like liquids that are bursting forth from open sores and things like that, but there's a lot of these details on these Death Guard models that have sores that haven't popped up, and basically like the white head on your forehead that you want someone to Photoshop out of your prom picture. Like there's all sorts of things like that all over these models, and there's a really good way to represent that doesn't just involve putting a white dot of paint on there, because that looks a little too forced, and no matter how much you wash that stark definition is gonna show up. So with these textured sores and things, you want to take the color that you're painting, like the base of the sore. Say you're doing a purple. You want to make that purple pop out against that green more. You're going to progressively add more white to it and increase the saturation of the white until you get up to that point where the very I guess you call the apex of that sore looks just about ready to burst.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing, and don't go just with don't go with the white scar white. You do want to get that right, and it's going to be difficult on such a small surface. What I was saying a second ago, though, is different techniques. If you don't want to necessarily go with like the Nihilus Oxide or the washes, don't forget the sponge. The sponge
is great.
It's the secret weapon as far as some of this stuff goes. You can always fall back on sponging for vehicles and armor. I would try to go with the washes and some of the stuff with they were talking about for sores. But, and dry brushing always, this is the simple stuff. Use it in a way that you didn't think about using it before, and don't be afraid to go with a color you didn't think about before. So, even like a bone on top of a green is going to give you a really nice highlight, and you're never going to know it's that Ushabti bone at the top.
Yep. Yeah, and you think, oh, it's green, I need to go with a lighter green. Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to stay within the same color family to create that nice kind of crisp highlight.
That's one of the hardest things to get that was one of the hardest things to get my mind around, to really, I guess, broaden the look of some of my miniatures. Yep,
absolutely.
Guys, I know it's been a long episode. Thanks for hanging in with me. I cannot wait to continue to talk about Death Guard and Death Guard army lists. You guys got anything to add before we get out of here?
Just stay vaccinated and get some antibiotics. We'll see you guys next week.
See a dermatologist, people.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Cheers.
Go ahead ahead make my day.